Welcome to Activations with JJ, Economics and Prosperity on the New Earth, Part 4. Hello, and welcome to this 4th episode of my series, Economics and Prosperity on the New Earth. I'm so excited to have you here because this is an awesome topic. I know a lot of us kind of get when we start talking about abundance or manifesting because we've heard it before. It's kind of like, oh, again. And then some of us who haven't had that much luck with it kind of feel a little bit resentful when we start talking about those things. But I promise you, it's super powerful. If you haven't listened to the other 3, hop on and listen to them after you listen to this one. It doesn't have to necessarily go in order, but it's nice to kind of see the progression of where I'm going with it. In a nutshell, this series of podcast episodes is all about what I believe is the energy of abundance and economics and what the systems are going to look like and how the flow of energy will be on the new earth with regards to basically bringing an income in, right? Like sustaining ourselves, not just individually, but collectively. Currently, there are many imbalances, if you haven't noticed. All you have to do is look at the news to see all kinds of imbalance and disparity in prosperity. Right? So lots of people with tons and tons of money, lots of people with not very many people with tons and tons of money, the few, and then a ton. It's just imbalanced. I mean, I cannot put it any other way. If you want to bring politics into it, that's fine. You can do your thing with that. I'm not really even bringing politics into it to say that everybody needs to have an equal, but I am sitting here saying, come on, let's look at the energy of the situation. It's super imbalanced in so many ways and forms. There are a lot of people being taken advantage of. But again, if we believe that we create our own reality, then collectively we're allowing this to happen. So collectively and individually, we need to assess the energy that we're putting out to attract the situations that we're in. And that actually brings me to one of the topics that I wanted to talk about today. It's kind of like a little bit of a big picture topic. There's actually a part of it that's going to be more nuts and bolts. But this part is that I've started looking at things. This is kind of generally, this isn't just related to economics and prosperity, but I've started to see things. I think it's partly my clairaudience, clairvoyance, all of those clairs being developed where we're able to start reading energy. I know that many of my listeners are feeling that they're able to read energy better. But I think sometimes when we deal with money and finances, we sort of cut that part of us off and forget to incorporate, being able to read things energetically. So as you develop reading people energetically, maybe, or reading a situation or a place energetically, or, in your sleep as you astral travel, all those things you're developing, I want to encourage you to begin to take a look at your lifestyle, your finances, your income, your outgo, all of those things that we could, call just basic financial literacy, and look at them from an energetic perspective. Let me give you an example. So let's say you have a monthly spreadsheet of your bills, what you're bringing in, what you're putting out there. I really feel like if you can tune into it and use your intuition, you could go through each line item there, and you could begin to manifest or just even tap into the energy of that item and see if it is in line with what you want and what you need. Really what you're doing is you're taking the body of your finances, right? Because we do emotional scans of our bodies. We go to healers who can look at blocks and look at energetic things like Reiki. It's kind of like doing Reiki on your finances. Ooh, that's cool. It's almost too like, the concept of feng shui, where depending on how things are arranged, in a physical environment, it can affect the energy flow. So also considering the energy of each one of those items. I mean, I'm kind of channeling this because this isn't something that occurred to me before I started this episode, but now it's coming to me. Let's say a company that you have a contract with, right? You're paying them a monthly fee or whatever. You somehow are connected to them energetically. Think about it. Let's say that you're connected to that company, and all of a sudden you're kind of reading your finances, you're reading your energy here, doing a little bit of Reiki there, and you feel a block coming from that connection. It could either be from you or from the other side. Maybe that's an indication you need to change, or you need to figure out why there's a block there. I can think of somebody I know who has stopped buying products from a very large company that most people buy things from and they get shipped to them. They've done it intentionally because they're tired of supporting that energy. So, I mean, it really just takes a lot of people to wake up, to shift things. We kind of complain that it's their fault, but in reality, the collective is manifesting what they want. And I feel like the collective still doesn't feel like they deserve abundance, and they still feel like it's kind of like sort of a programming that they've had throughout their lives. You don't deserve to handle you don't deserve abundance because you can't handle it. Sort of like if you go back to where there was like monarchies, more times, like medieval times, for instance. There's been lots of times in lots of cultures where this happened, but where the very rich, controlled everything, and there were lots of poor, and they basically took advantage of them to make themselves richer, and they gave very little back to them. That's a blatant imbalance of energy right there. But if we subscribe to the notion that we create our own reality, both individually and collectively, what is it? Where's the programming in the collective that says that the majority don't deserve to have abundance, that only a minority should have it? Is it deserve level? Is it worthiness? Is it not realizing we're creators? I think it's all of the things that I just said. That's why I feel like the last couple of weeks, so if you're listening to this after the fact, during the month of October 2021, I brought through a lot of creator energy. I think when people begin to step into that knowledge and that energy that they're creator gods, then they start to see themselves in a different light and their deserve levels go up. So again, one of the roadblocks I feel to our whole system being adjusted so that it is balanced is the fact that the collective majority is still not stepping into their creator roles and taking that by the reins and really growing into that. There's still a lot of people out there. Now, don't get depressed, because I know it can get super overwhelming when we start talking about systems that are broken and imbalanced. I want to remind you, they tell us all the time that you're way showers and that you are breaking through these boundaries that were set by the collective, how they limited themselves. And you are showing them it's possible. Most people just don't think it's possible. But as we begin to step out, for example, a friend of mine who literally quit their 9-to-5 job, and people are like, "What are you doing?" Well, I have a passive income. You're not actually doing anything to get money because it's passive income, or it's very little effort that you have to put out for the income. It's like blowing their minds, right? It's blowing their minds. Here's another thing that I truly believe. We are stepping into the divine feminine age. And I got this feeling the other day when I was channeling, and I can't remember when. I think I was in a session, a one-on-one session. And I felt very strongly that the masculine energy has dominated our history for eons, right? I think at the beginning there was a strong divine feminine. Maybe there's a contract or some kind of agreement, but the divine But the masculine, and it wasn't necessarily like the divine masculine, it was the violence and the authoritarianism and the hierarchical control, seeking of power, seeking of money, all those things, for self-serving reasons, right? Because you can seek power and money from your heart, and it's fine. But if you're doing it to service to self, is a way we can say it, then it's not going to turn out very well for a lot of people, because it just breeds violence and poverty and lots of bad things. So anyway, that was the dominant story in our history for eons and eons. And I kind of think, it's just a theory, you guys don't have to believe what I do. I kind of think that there is a great deal of energy that's going to be balanced out by the collective beginning to enjoy abundance. In other words, for so long, there was kind of this buildup of, look, you could almost see it as like a debt, right? You had the very few gaining their power and their money on the backs of the many. So there's some energy imbalance there that is owed, you could see it that way, that is owed to those people, the many. This is beginning to sound political, I know it is, but I'm just telling you from an energetic perspective about energy exchanges, and it's not balanced. So that buildup, that like quote unquote debt, is going to be repaid. I think it all links up with the divine feminine. And by the way, this week it's interesting that I'm talking about this, because I'm also talking about, I brought through the Lemurian star mothers. And Lemurian star mothers obviously are the sort of the carriers of the flame of the divine feminine, right? They're the ones who bring that through and have through the history, especially at the beginning during like Lemuria and Atlantis, where that was a very strong thing, that they're coming back. And as they do, they're affecting the economics and prosperity on the new earth. They're bringing back balance. And so we're going to shift to an extremely divine feminine type of energy with regards to economics and prosperity. What does economics look like with a large dose of divine feminine? Well, in my opinion, it looks like not having to do a lot, but getting a ton of abundance. I know it sounds really weird and very much against, especially Western world, but basically passive income. Now, is that going to be weird at first? Oh, yes. People aren't going to know what to do, because if especially those in Western culture, have been ingrained with the fact that you're not worth anything unless you're doing something, it's going to be strange. Well, we just have to know what's going on. This is why I'm sharing this with you guys. We just have to know what's going on and identify it and be like, okay, it's okay to sit and be still and bring in abundance and prosperity. You don't have to feel shame about that. You don't have to feel bad about that. There's enough to support us all. I've told you all this. Do I know how it's going to work? Nope. I don't. I do think it has something to do with the fact that money is just imaginary, and as much as it can be just created out of nothing. Now, back in the olden days, it was based on gold, but for heaven's sakes, they got rid of that. Now they're just literally creating money left and right out of thin air. Well, but if they can do that, why don't we just all get enough money to do what we need to do? There's going to be a lot of healing that needs to be done. Because I know, as people have talked about, for instance, universal income, there's this concern, especially in Western culture, that it will create lazy people. Okay, so people will just be entitled, they'll be lazy. Have you heard that ever come out before? I have. It's the same thing about welfare. But why isn't welfare working? Well, because people have been ingrained and programmed to think that their worth comes from doing. And so there's an energetic block there to where with you quote unquote get a handout and you're not doing something to earn it, then there's something wrong with you. But maybe you're getting that because there's an energetic balance being restored, because like you had so many generations of people. So it's not manifesting. Okay, I don't hope this doesn't sound totally really weird to you right now, but I'm not saying that it's working out perfectly right now. But I want you to look at it from discernment, a place of discernment from your heart, and know that it's trying to be born. The economics and prosperity from the divine feminine, or with the shades of divine feminine, or the power of the divine feminine, or the energy of the divine feminine. Okay? It's trying to be born into this world that has been completely dominated by the masculine when it comes to economics and prosperity. So the birthing process is a little bit rough. It's a little bit rough. What can we do to make it easier? Well, we can just basically start doing what I'm saying. And if you feel like it's your path to show people how to live in the economics and prosperity of the new earth through the divine feminine, then all you have to do is ask your higher self, go within however you get your inspiration, and start to just incorporate that energy into your life. You won't have to try that hard. How do I say this? Okay. I don't want you to be frantic and be quitting everything and changing everything because, oh my gosh, what I'm doing is super masculine. No. As you bring in the energy of the divine feminine and be still, the things will rearrange around you. You won't hardly have to do any action. It will literally just naturally come to you. It will flow to you because the divine feminine is all about flow. And it's like a river. It's like all the little streams meet to form a river, okay? As all of us individually as way showers begin to live in the flow of the divine feminine when it comes to economics and when it comes to abundance and manifesting and prosperity and our jobs, then guess what? We're all going to create this giant river that's going to not push through because it's feminine. So it's going to flow through the whole planet and flow and wash over the collective. And things will change right before your eyes without us needing to do protests or go out there and go door to door and try to preach these concepts. That's the divine masculine. And that hasn't really worked well for us over the last several years. Okay? So there's my spiel all about economics and prosperity related to the two things I said. I'm just reminding you here to recap because I kind of went off a little bit there. But remember the very first thing has to do with looking at your financial sort of body energetically and seeing what's there that needs to be changed. Any of your habits, there's a lot of subconscious programming regarding consumerism, right? There's a lot of that. So taking a look at that, seeing where there may be imbalance or blocks, things that are keeping you sort of chained to the old way, releasing those and stepping into the divine feminine flow. And one at a time, we're gonna step into it like without hardly any effort. It's just gonna come. It's just gonna come. I know I can feel resistance. I'm recording this before anybody's listened to it, speaking it out into the world, and I can feel the collective resistance to what I'm saying. So take a deep breath. Integrate what I'm saying. Think about what I'm saying. And maybe listen to this episode more than one time because it's some really ingrained stuff that is being unrooted and deprogrammed here. Thank you so much for sticking with me for this whole episode. I'm always excited to put these out because I learn just like you do every single time. I'm channeling as we go along and I love it. So thanks again. Hope to see you at the next one. And until then, the divinity within me honors the divinity within you. Namaste.